Hey, fancy listeners. Francesca Hampton here, and I am honored that you took time to tune in once again. And I'm committed to sharing content that will make you glad you did. So, welcome to the Fancy Thoughts Podcast, a weekly podcast designed to give you perspective, insight, and encouragement to release the greatness inside of you. I want you to live fancy life, where you are fostering achievement, never compromising you, because someone is waiting for you. Before we get into this week's Fancy Thoughts, let's remind ourselves what we talked about last week. Last week, our topic was Who Told You That?, where we began to look at the perspectives and the mindsets that we have allowed to either push us forward or to hold us back. We were looking at those negative narratives that have come from our past experiences, from other people, as well as from our own minds. And we were challenged to change those negative narratives to things that are actually true. What God says about us, what we know about ourselves to be true, and what we truly believe we can accomplish. So without further ado, let's get into this week's Fancy Thoughts. This week, our topic is Continue to Press, Know Your Why. Again, continue to press, know your why. In order to release greatness and to be everything that we were created and designed to be, there are going to be times when we have to press. There are going to be times when we're going to have to push beyond the desire, beyond the energy, beyond the motivation even. There are going to be times when we have to go forward with reckless abandon. I looked up the word press in the Collins Dictionary, and it is defined as to go forward with energetic or determined effort. It's also defined as to push forward or advance with force, eagerness, or haste. And I truly believe as we continue on this journey of releasing greatness, a press is required. Think about it. To go forward with energetic or determined effort. Sometimes that it's easy to move forward with energy. You're excited. You're motivated. You are encouraged. You know what you want to accomplish, and the very thought of accomplishing it pushes you forward and gives you that energy. There are other times when that energy isn't enough. That motivation isn't enough. The accomplishment or the end result isn't enough. And that's when you have to go forward with a determined effort. You have to make a decision, a determination that I will get this done, that I will get this accomplished, that I will press forward, and that I will see the other side. I'll use myself as an example. I recently started working out, and I've never been a person that's been consistent with working out. I've never been a person that, a gym buff or, even a home gym or home walking. I've never been really athletic. I did play sports a little bit, softball and volleyball for a little while. I was just never really an athletic person. So a few years ago, I started going to the gym. I had a gym in my condo, and it was, I figured it would be easy. Just go straight downstairs, go to the gym. I can go early in the morning, late at night. It's open all the time. No excuses. And I did that for maybe like a month and a half. And then I stopped. Why? Because was I not motivated? Of course. I wanted to see certain things from my body and in my body. I wanted to be healthier. There were a lot of things that I wanted to do, but motivation isn't enough. I needed a determination. I needed to make a decision that it didn't matter how I felt. It didn't matter, what other things would try to come up to discourage me or to distract me. And in that time of my life, I was easily distracted. I didn't have anybody to go with. I woke up too late. I got home too late. I'm tired. All of these different reasons. And I'm sure many of you can probably relate with something in your life that you had a great idea. You had a great, motivation or energy in the beginning to get started. But once things got in the way, whether they were hard life things or just simple everyday things, it sometimes gets easy to pull back, get distracted, and do something else. But today, I'm encouraging you to continue to press and know your why. When you're pressing, you're using the determined effort when energy isn't there. You're using determined effort when motivation isn't enough. You're using the determined effort when distractions come to tell you that you need to reprioritize or move on to do something else. Releasing greatness is not easy. Releasing what's on the inside of you is not easy. It requires you to step out, press, and move forward beyond the things that would try to deter you. Again, if we look even at the other definition I mentioned, which is to push forward or advance with force, eagerness, or haste. It's that advancement with force that we're talking about. It's that moment where you're saying, my body says I'm tired. My mind says I'm tired. I have to get up tomorrow. I can do it another day. But when you press, you push forward anyway. You advance with force, with haste. You know what? I'm going to do it right now. I'm not going to take any more excuses. I'm just going to do it right now. And I am sure many of you can attest to when you have pressed forward into doing something that you would have normally allowed yourself to push to the side or push to the back burner. There's a sense of accomplishment that comes even in that moment. There's a sense of purpose. There's a sense of pride, if you will, that says, you know what? I pressed forward and I got it done. Maybe it's not all the way completed, but I took one step forward. I'm writing a book. And that's one of the things that I have seen I have had to utilize in this writing. I've been writing this book for way too long, and I'm determined that it's coming out this year. But there are moments when, especially because I work at a computer every day, all day, by the time I get done, I don't want to then get on the computer more, except I have a determined effort. I am determined to finish this book this year and release it so that you can read it. I'm determined to finish it because it's something that's important to me. There is nothing that anybody else outside can do that's going to make me write this book. And for you, whatever it is that you have put in your mind to do, that you have set out to do, that you've decided to do, that you've been thinking about doing, regardless of the amount of support and encouragement and accountability that you have from someone else, nobody else can make you do it. You have to make the decision to go forward with energetic or determined effort. You have to decide to push forward or advance with force, eagerness, or haste. But how do you do that? Or what is the thing that will help you to do that? And that's the second part of our fancy thought. Know your why. I've said this before. I'm sure you've heard other people saying this before about knowing your why. What does that mean? The simple definition of why is the reason, cause, motive, purpose, etc. Right? It's why you do what you do. And sometimes I think we underestimate the power of knowing your why. What do I mean by that? There are going to be times where things are going to be hard, as we talked about when we're speaking about pressing. And as I mentioned, motivation in and of itself is not enough. You have to be determined. And what helps you to have that determination is your reason, your cause, your purpose. For example, as I mentioned, I've started working out again. And I get up every day. I do it 5 to 6 times a week. Why? Because I am determined to see results in my body. I am determined to be healthier. I'm almost 45 years old. I am not going to be in my 50s, breathing heavy, going upstairs and unable to, participate in any type of activity that requires exertion. That's not going to be my state. And if I don't get started now and keep pushing it off, I'm just delaying the inevitable. So instead, I've made a determination that I will stick to this. Whether anybody works out with me, whether anybody else encourages me, whether anybody else ever knows, I'm determined to get up every morning, at least 5 days a week, and get it done. Again, the reason is me. It's not an external reason. It's not for anybody else. It's for me. And I have made the decision that I am important enough. I am valuable enough. My health is important. Therefore, I have to keep doing this. And in all actuality, the end result is not just for me, right? I want to be here for my daughter. I want to be here for what God has called me to do. I want to be here to see events and accomplishments and exciting news and, things in my family and my friends' lives. I want to be there. I want to be present when other things are happening. And I don't want to cause myself or put myself in a position where I'm not healthy enough to do so. So that's my reason. That's my cause. And that's what's going to push me beyond the days when I don't feel like it. That's what's going to help me in those days when I can come up with 17,000 excuses. But the excuses don't matter because I have a determination. I've made a decision and I'm going to stick to it. You have to know your why. And I use the gym as a simple example, but especially when we're talking about moving out into something where we're stepping out of our comfort zone, where we're stepping out of the everyday norm that we know we can do into something that we're trying for the first time or retrying after a failure, or just stepping out to release the greatness that's on the inside of us. There are going to be times when other people, yourself, your past, just like we talked about last week, will tell you, you can't do this. You are never going to finish this. Remember the last thing that you did and you didn't finish it? What makes you think you're going to do this? What makes you think this is even going to be important or impactful? You're trying to step out on this business. Don't you know this business is being done by 17 other people in your local area? What is your difference? That's why you have to know your why. Your why can't be just to get something out. Your why can't be just to prove somebody else wrong. Your why has to be personal. It has to have meat to it. It has to have roots in it. Because if not, it will easily be distracted. It will easily be squashed by negativity, by pressure, by emotions. Let's be real. It is really easy to get into your feelings and decide not to do something, regardless of how big or how small, how important or how mundane. It doesn't matter how seemingly important the situation is. We can always find a reason to not do something. So we have to, in those moments, reach back, remind ourselves, put it on the wall so we'll read it, put it in your phone so you'll pull it up, put it in a voice note so you'll hear it. We have to remind ourselves why we're doing these things. Why am I writing a book? Is it so that my name can be out there with all the other authors and I can finally say, I wrote a book? No, because that's not enough to push me past the moments when I don't feel like it. It's because I truly believe that I have been given a message. I have been given information that is going to impact and change the lives of others. And if I don't do it, then the opportunity that they had to hear it passes by. Because I didn't do what I was supposed to do, what I was given to do. We have all been given gifts, talents, and purposes that are not just for ourselves. They're not just for us. They are for someone else. They are to impact the life of someone else. How selfish of us to allow emotions and distractions to stop us from doing it because we don't think it's important. Someone is waiting for you. You've heard me say that. Let me expound on that just a bit. Someone is waiting on you is the simple truth that there is something on the inside of you that someone else responds to like no one else. There is something that you say, something that you do, something that you provide which is done in a way like no one else. Because you are unique. There's nobody else like you. There's nobody else who can do you like you. And somebody needs what's on the inside of you. How do I know this? Because we weren't created to interact with just ourselves. Think of it this way. A doctor doesn't become a doctor so that they can doctor themselves. A lawyer doesn't become a lawyer just so that if he ever gets in trouble, he can defend himself. People don't do things in the grand scheme of life so that their end result is for themselves. You don't start a business so that you are the only sole consumer of your business. It's for someone else. Well, if you recognize that you, not even just the business, not even just the service that you have to offer, not even the external thing that you may be providing, you, in and of yourself, are the simple answer to what someone else is looking for. But they will never receive it the way that it was intended until you release it. That is truly what I mean by someone is waiting for you, and we need to release the greatness that's on the inside of us. And you can't do that if you don't know your why. If your why is to prove somebody else, that can be distracted, or that can be dismissed, rather. If your why is just to get something done, that can be dismissed. If your why is because you recognize there is an impact on the other side of your purpose, that's a reason to keep going. That's a reason to press. That's a reason to go forward with a determined effort. Motivation isn't enough. You have to know your why. So my biggest encouragement to you today is continue to press by knowing your why. Allow that to encourage you. Allow that to push you. Allow that to energize you. Allow that to help you make a determined effort. The biggest thing that you have to offer is the fullness of your authenticity. You being everything that you were created and designed to be. Being you. And if nothing else that you press, I encourage you to press in being you. So many things around us, so many things that we engage in, so many things that we participate in, so many things that we allow to suck up our time, give us an impression that we need to do certain things, be like certain people. But my encouragement to you today is be you. Be authentically you. Press to be you. Press against the negativity that tells you to be like anyone else. Press against the peer pressure or the social pressure to be like anyone else or to change to meet someone else's criteria or expectation. I encourage you today to continue to press to be you. You are so amazing. The way that you do what you do is unmatched. The way that you operate is unmatched. The way that you think and process, others would pay to see that. Others would pay to have that information. Others would pay to understand the way you understand, to break things down the way that you do. If you truly understand all that is wrapped up in you just being you, you wouldn't second guess yourself as much. You wouldn't deprioritize yourself as much, and you wouldn't compare yourself as much. So may I encourage you today to take a moment, take it and write down on a piece of paper 5 things that you do well. I encourage you, just take a moment, write it on a sticky note, write it on the back of a napkin, put it in your phone as a note. 5 things that you do well. You're not trying to brag or be braggadocious or be proud or cocky, but you are amazing. And if nobody else knows it, you need to know it. So today, your homework assignment. Write 5 things that you're good at, 5 things that you excel at. And I want you to then look at that paper and I want you to say out loud, somebody needs this. Somebody else's life will be changed as I continue to release this. As I am more authentically this, I have the ability to impact and change someone else's life. That's how amazing you are. That's how awesome you are. So as you go throughout your day, I want you to remember to continue to press, knowing your why, because someone is waiting for you. Thank you for joining us for the Fancy Thoughts podcast. I'm Francesca Hampton, and I look forward to you tuning in again next week. And remember, you are well able, fully capable, and properly equipped to accomplish everything you were created for. So go and make this week a great one.